So today I'm working on my 2011 GMC 2500 HD. It's got a 6.0 in it, gas engine. And I think it's been a couple weeks now. I start the truck up and these are the lights I have on the dash and the codes. Service traction control, Service Stabilitrak, and Service trailer brake system. The check engine light there I think is just on because I don't have the truck on, because that normally isn't on. But all those three came up all at the same time, and I decided I got a scanner laptop. I hooked it up to the OBD2 port on the truck, which is just down here, and you need something that'll read ABS codes, because I have a normal OBD2 scanner that's just a Bluetooth one, and all it would show is any check engine lights. It did not show any ABS codes. So when I hooked the computer up to it, I found that it had a code for the right rear, passenger rear speed sensor malfunction, I believe is what it showed on there, or not functioning. I decided to go to the parts store, pick up a new speed sensor. I removed the old one and put a new one in, and the same thing happened. I looked at the live data while driving. My three other sensors are reading correctly and accurately as far as between the three of them, and then that one sensor just shows 0 mile an hour. So later on I decided, okay, I'll test out the sensors and see what I got going on here. I checked the resistance, the ohm reading of the new sensor versus the other three sensors, and on my other three sensors I'm getting a 7.69 reading. I think it's mega ohms. And on my new sensor, I'm at like 30 something. So I have an issue with the new sensor, but at the same time, I decided to check the old sensor I removed, and it's also getting a 7.69 reading off of it. So with all my old sensors reading 7.69, they all should be fine. The one I replaced probably didn't need to be replaced, so I decided to check the harness side of the truck, or the truck side of the harness that gives power to them sensors, and I checked the driver's side rear, which is a known good sensor, and it does work, and it shows it works, and it has 12 volts with the key on. And then I checked the passenger side, which is the one I'm having the issue with, and I have no voltage to it. So those wires go to a thing called the EBCM, and it is located underneath the driver's side seat area. I can go to that here and kind of show it. So up underneath the truck, there is the ABS module and EBCM. So all the wires come into here, into this thing, and I have removed that plug on this side here. There is a red tab. You got to pull that tab out, push this section of it down, and then you can release the locking mechanism on there, which is this thing here. You'll kind of pull a little bit while you're also rotating this direction, and it'll pull this connector out. And I just checked to make sure everything looked good as far as the pins go, and everything looked fine. So kind of my next option here, because all the wheel speed sensors come out to here, I'm not sure what the pinout is. I obviously know that some of this is working, this EBCM, but obviously one of them is not working, because I'm not getting 12 volts all the way down to my wheel speed sensor. So now I need to figure out which one of these wires goes back to that passenger side speed sensor, and just test the resistance of it, just to see if I have a break in the wire possibly, which I'm really hoping I do, but I don't know. And then the next step past that is I'll take these torque screws out and remove this whole thing and see what's messed up in there, because there's circuitry and stuff in there, and I have seen a couple videos and pictures where it's fried up partially. and you have no symptoms inside of here. All the pins look fine, all your connector, everything all looks fine. So it could be this, which then needs replaced, and I believe it has to be programmed to this vehicle per the VIN. So I can I'm going to add in a couple things here on how I checked the ohm reading and the voltage reading, and then my next step, whenever I figure out which wire's which, I will add that in as well on what I find out with the ohm reading of the wiring itself. So this is my original sensor here. They look fine, no big deal there. Connected to the end of it, there's two little prongs. I have some alligator clips connected to that, and then that's then connected to my ohm reader, which if you you're using both hands, you could do this a little differently. And I've got it set on ohms, and that's what I'm reading, 7.62. So a little less today, it could be different temperature or whatever, because yesterday I was reading 7.62. And this is almost exactly what all my other three sensors are reading, so I'm pretty positive this sensor is good. Now I'm going to show the voltage I'm getting and how I got that. So up underneath the driver's side of the rear of the truck, this is where your wheel speed sensor is located, and then the harness just kind of goes up and around. And on the driver's side, this is where it's sitting at, like a little clip that holds it up a little farther. Broke, but no big deal. And you've got this little thing here, you just got to push it, and it pulls apart like that. And that's how I was testing that other side. There's two little prongs in there, and then this side's from the truck. So it doesn't really matter which one you connect to. One would be basically positive and the other one's negative. You just hook each lead of your multimeter up to it and see what it's getting voltage wise. So I'm going to do that real quick. I got the multimeter hooked up there. Mine just happens to kind of stay in there like that. You might have to put some wire or something in there to get it to stay, but mine does stay just like that. And then on the end of the multimeter, 11.2 volts, which battery might be a little low. I don't drive this truck that much, so that's why it's only 11.2, but it should be about 12 or whatever your battery voltage is. And if I go to the other side, which I'll do, I'll show you what voltage I'm getting there. The other side is almost in the exact same spot. That's where that one is. Driver's side, this one's passenger side, and it is also just tucked up here. There's the end for the sensor itself that I've replaced, and I've got it hooked up the same way, and that's the voltage reading I'm getting out of that. So it should be the same as the driver's side, which it's not. So I either have an issue with the wiring itself or that ECBM. So now I need to test the wiring and see if I have a short in the wiring, and which I'm hoping I do, because that's the easiest fix. And if not, then it's most likely that ECBM, because that ECBM just gets power going to it, and then it sends power out from there. So there's no other fuses for each individual wheel speed sensor, any of that stuff. It's just, if it's not wanting to send power out, then there's got to be an issue with it. Especially if it's only one speed sensor, it's not getting power. If it was all of them, then that's a different story. So I'm going to test the power, or test this wire, and see if I can find which one's which, and kind of hopefully be able to see ohm it out and see if I got a break in the wire. Alright, so I'm back underneath here again. I've got this connector removed. It had this piece on it to just help protect the wiring there, and I removed this piece out of it, which it just has these two little nubs on it right there and there, and those nubs come out of that hole there, this one right there on each side. I don't know if I needed to remove that or not, but it helped in getting this removed, which I had clearly kind of messed up a little bit as far as with the tabs that are on this side of it, but no big deal. I got it off. I went to the back where the sensor is and found out which color is which, and I have a brown wire with a gray with black tracer, and then the driver's side one is a tan wire with gray with black tracer. So I've kind of messed around with this a few different times. I've put a paper clip in here because you have all these little holes. Well, you have the tiny ones, and then there's a hole above that, and then you got the circular hole above that, tiny one again, and then two more holes above that. So you got to kind of figure out which one's which. It's not the tiny hole, it's the hole above it. That's the one that goes to these wires. Well, I put paper clip in there, tested it out. I got open load, or OL, on the multimeter. I didn't trust it. I tried from the other side to here, same thing. Again, just wanted to be sure I was actually getting a good connection. I tried right here, just like this with these, and then just alligator clipped them together just real quick, and I got the same result. So I was like, okay, well, if that is the same result, that would mean between them two wires somewhere there's a break in the wiring. So I got back underneath, and I had, checked everything with this side of it. So I decided to, that wire, or the wiring there, goes up along the frame rail, and it is this wire right here, and it comes across the top here, which is right up there, comes across and goes over to here. And I was just kind of following it, feeling along, and I already did some of this because someone added a 7-way plug into the camper shell, and this was, they didn't have any of it butt connected, and it was a mess. So as I'm looking, it's this right here that is for that, and if you notice there, I've got some chewed up wiring. So because I've got wires showing there, I do believe I'm going to take this off and see how messed up it is. But I'm really hoping that's the issue, because if it is, I've just got to spend a little bit of time and clean this up, and then I can just butt connect that wire, add in a small section of wiring, and that might end up being my problem, which is kind of the best case scenario. So I'm going to remove that insulation and see what I can see behind it. After removing that insulation and everything, yeah, I'm pretty confident that is that's an issue there. So I'm going to butt connect this. I had to remove this piece here, but there should be more than enough there. Untwist it and everything, and the unfortunate thing, after I get that done, I will probably still have to replace that wheel speed sensor, because it's not reading the same as the other ones were. So I think it'll still set the code. So I'll have to put the old one back in, and hopefully the parts store will return the one I bought, since it is completely different number than all the other ones. So let's see what happens here. I'm gonna cut that wiring and butt connect it, and see what happens. Alright, now I still have those two connected up there, so it's putting a loop in those two wires, the brown and the gray with black stripe. I have repaired the wiring here, butt connect with the heat shrink, and now I'm testing the resistance on it, and now I have a reading which is correct. Doesn't really matter too much what the reading is. There is a reading which is showing that between the loop that I've made between the wires. So it basically has made one big wire instead of two separate wires. I only have 0.6 ohms of resistance. Now if there was like, I don't know what a normal number, or what would be considered high resistance, a couple hundred, couple thousand ohms, then I could have another issue with the wire, and it would maybe not allow enough voltage or amperage to get there. But 0.6 is perfectly fine for what I've got going on here. So I am going to now remove all the stuff I have up there, reconnect it, turn the key on, double check to make sure I do have voltage going to this, and I guess still replace this speed sensor with the original and return that one and see if my light goes away. So stay tuned for that. Now I have the connector back on there, added a little dielectric, everything's hooked back up, key is on. Now I have voltage reading. It is a little low again. Truck hasn't been ran in a while, so I will replace the wheel speed sensor, which all that is a 10 millimeter on there, and then there's a few of these clips. I think there's 3 of them total, clips like this that go kind of all around to keep the wiring out of the way. And you can either get a pair of pliers and pull them off, or they do make trim tab tools or whatever. You can do that, or even hit it with a hammer or something. I mean, it's just there to hold the wiring out of the way. If you happen to break them, I mean, you can always just zip tie through the hole and keep your wiring up. But I want to see if that'll fix my light here. I've got everything reconnected, all the sensors reconnected, sensor swapped out, fired it up, took it on a test drive, and all my lights are gone. So that break in the wire there, I'm not sure what happened, if that was some previous repair. It looked like there was some electrical tape on it, so, but I've got no idea. That seemed to be what the issue was. So if you have a similar problem like this, I mean, the steps I did is, instead of just replacing the sensor, you should probably test the things first. So just kind of go through the same steps, check for ohm resistance on your sensor itself without the harness plugged in, and see if it matches up with your other 4. And if everything matches there, then check to see if you have power. Some vehicles have different amounts of power that might go to it. It might not be 12 volts. It just kind of depends per the vehicle. And then, like mine, I had no power, so I tested at the other end and tested the wiring itself, and then traced the wiring and found that break in it. So luckily that's all it was, and I don't have to replace a maybe $300+ EBCM and then have to get it programmed and everything. So this was a pretty simple fix, and I'm glad it was, and everything's going good. So hopefully it's the same for you guys, and subscribe and like and comment if you got any questions on anything, and hopefully this video helps you guys out. Thank you.